Hi everybody, David Rower here. For our JSTOR research, I chose 3 separate articles on Richard Nixon. I am fascinated with Nixon, and you'll see why in a moment. The first article by Richard P. Nathan talks about Nixon's domestic policies. Nixon's known for the Watergate break-in, but here Nathan discusses why Nixon, the conservative Republican, has a track record on domestic policy that looks very like a Democrat. The reason is Nixon was a pragmatist. He had Democrats in both houses of Congress, and if he wanted to get his agenda passed and wanted to look like a successful president, he had to play ball with them. The second author is Stanley Kurtler, and he talks about Nixon and the constitutionality of Nixon's actions. Specifically, when Nixon got caught during the Watergate scandal as having recordings in the White House and refusing to turn them over, Kurtler discusses how the Congress, using the Constitution and checks and balances, showed that they were more powerful than the office of the president. Nixon claimed executive privilege. This is a concept that goes all the way back to George Washington. Washington had created and invoked this concept when he was asked to disclose the treaties that ended the American Revolution. That was a matter of national security. Nixon tried to use the same angle, and the Supreme Court said, nah, your private business doesn't apply here. You have to open these records to Congress. The third one is called Nixon, Watergate, and a Study of the Presidency. What makes this one interesting is the author starts out right away by saying the Watergate break-in and the scandal of the presidency is so vast, so large, there's no way we can encompass it here in a paper. Instead, we're going to look at all of the primary sources available to us and all literature created around reporting what happened under the Nixon presidency. And what this author finds is scholarly articles and periodicals were very limited. There's a lot of biographies, a lot of autobiographies, and some of them tend to contradict each other. The problem with the primary sources, the scholarly work, is a lot of the primary source documents are still tied up in institutions such as presidential libraries. For sources and methodologies, all 3 of the authors were using the same set of sources. Not identically, but almost. There's a lot of overlap because, as I said previously, there's a lot of biographies, but not a lot of documents or scholarly work on Nixon. As far as methodology, they were all going chronologically. They were all rolling it out in sequence of the events of how this happened. My personal reason for researching Nixon is as such. I read All the President's Men when I was in the 8th grade, and I became fascinated with how one man can rise to the pinnacle of power in America and then self-destruct himself. And Nixon is complicated, and studying Nixon is complicated as well, because as we see here, we can study Nixon from his domestic policies. We can study Nixon vis-a-vis the Constitution and the President. Article 2 of the Constitution outlines the presidency, its roles, its powers, as well as methods by which a president may be removed, or if a president dies in office or leaves, how a president is replaced. And at the same time, the third article talks about all the articles. It's almost a historiography of Nixon, which is a course we also take here in this program. So while all 3 of them, as I said, were using same sources, some different than others, but many were overlapping sources, their methodologies tended to be chronological and annotative and analytical. Thank you very much.